God is the light in which I see. I cannot see in darkness. God is the only light. Therefore, if I am to see, it must be through him. I've tried to define what seeing is, and I've been wrong. Now it is given me to understand that God is the light in which I see. Let me welcome vision and the happy world it will show me. God is the mind with which I think. I have no thoughts I do not share with God. I have no thoughts apart from him, because I have no mind apart from his. As part of his mind, my thoughts are his, and his thoughts are mine. God is the love in which I forgive. God does not forgive because he has never condemned. The blameless cannot blame, and those who have accepted their innocence see nothing to forgive. Yet forgiveness is the means by which I will recognize my innocence. It is the reflection of God's love on earth. It will bring me near enough to heaven that the love of God can reach down to me and raise me up to him. God is the strength in which I trust. It is not my own strength through which I forgive. It is through the strength of God in me which I am remembering as I forgive. As I begin to see, I recognize his reflection on earth. I forgive all things because I feel the stirring of his strength in me. And I begin to remember the love I chose to forget, but which has not forgotten me. There is nothing to fear. How safe the world will look to me when I can see it. It will not look anything like what I imagine I see now. Everyone and everything I see will lean toward me to bless me. I will recognize in everyone my dearest friend. What could there be to fear in a world that I have forgiven and that has forgiven me? God's voice speaks to me all through the day. There is not a moment in which God's voice ceases to call on my forgiveness to save me. There is not a moment in which his voice fails to direct my thoughts, guide my actions, and lead my feet. I am walking steadily on toward truth. There is nowhere else I can go, because God's voice is the only voice and the only guide that has been given to his Son. I am sustained by the love of God. As I listen to God's voice, I am sustained by his love. And as I open my eyes, his love lights up the world for me to see. As I forgive, his love reminds me that his Son is sinless. And as I look upon the world with the vision he has given me, I remember I am his son. How simple is the great way to salvation. All it says that the world you see has nothing to do with reality. It is of your own making and it does not exist. All it says is that what was never true is not true now and never will be. The impossible has not occurred and can have no effects, and that is all. Can this be hard to learn by anyone who wants it to be true? You need to simply let yourself be as you truly are and have always been. All right. This is our start today. You know, it's like here some great lessons that are given even in this introduction. It's like listening to the voice, becoming still. No, it's not what I think it is. It is here, it is now, it's happening. And you feel the stirring of his strength in you. You feel the love, you know, looking at you, or you feel that you're starting to, yeah, something is changing in you. Something is absolutely changing in you. And it feels so good to have something to dedicate yourself completely to. That is true, you know, it's true. And it's everything to do with you. So you just have to be yourself. You don't have to be anyone else. You don't have to behave differently. No, it is just here that we see like, oh, there are a lot of things you don't have to do anymore. You were used to doing this and you were used to doing that, but that is what you don't have to do anymore. So, and then in this class today, in the Miracle Work 1 class, so we come with the lessons of the Holy Spirit. And the lessons of the Holy Spirit are, say, really like, there's a lot of information and a lot of guidance in the say chapter 6 of the Urtext. And today this is just an introduction to the lessons of the Holy Spirit, because it's so good to take one apart, like to really dive deep into one at a time. Now today, for the overview and for to see like, oh yes, I've heard about that, yes, I recognize that, we just have the all three of them in line together, not to overload ourselves, no, but to have an overview of the lessons that are given by the Holy Spirit in our process of transformation. So after the, say, in August or so, we will come back to that same, say, to the same lessons, because they're so complete and so like all-encompassing in your path of enlightenment that you will have to walk through them, and you cannot do them all at once in that sense. So it's good to make a little bit of a study of it too. So today we'll just say use a couple of paragraphs from each section to that. So, and today also I posted some of the readings that were connected to this, and so you might want to listen to that, because then you hear the full section, and that's great to work with. It's really great to work with. So it is just amazing to be able to share this together today, and have this amazing, overwhelming offering, overwhelming resources to help you, to see like, oh yeah, this is what I need to follow. Oh yes, that's what I don't have to do. Oh, look at this. Oh yeah. Oh, let's not forget that. Let's get that. Let's practice this and start doing this, start teaching it. See, and then a couple of things might be good to remember too. It's like teaching, when we say teaching, it is demonstrating. It is not that you suddenly need a classroom to be able to do this. No, it's like, what are you teaching to yourself? What are you actually sharing to yourself and to others? Like, but what are you sharing in terms of, are you confirming the unreality? Are you confirming your, say, local affairs? Are you making them real for yourself, your tragedies and all your concerns and confusion? Are you confirming that as an activity of the day? Or is there something else happening? And that something else might be, oh yes, I handed it over to Spirit. And now he's going to teach me how to go through this and have a whole different experience of it myself, totally coming from, say, the one who doesn't know about conflict and the one who doesn't know about confusion, but basically bringing us back to what is and not what you can question. So that is shortly said. That's a summary of basically what we're doing today too. So teaching is good to remember then. Teaching is demonstrating. What are you teaching? Are you teaching peace? Are you teaching confusion or fear or, conflict? Or what are you demonstrating? See, that the great thing about the guidance that you get in this process, the guidance that is available, is that it will always confirm, say, peace to you. It will always confirm quietness. It will always confirm dissolving of conflict, and suddenly, oh, yeah, I don't need to do that. Oh, like that. So that is so great to discover that, and to see that is a given for us to receive that every step along the way. So there's always a confirmation, and yeah, your quietness increases for a moment, like, oh, that's so great, or a little release, like, oh, I'm so happy that I don't need to do that. And it can be with little things or with incredible big things. It really does not matter. Like, there's no order of difficulty in that. Not one is harder than the other, is what we know from the miracle principles. So this all comes together now in chapter 6. We've read some more. We've studied some more. We got to know some more, and that is going to be totally applied and totally useful to take the next steps too. Okay, so reading a little bit from the chapter. Reading from chapter 6. So the first lesson of the Holy Spirit is entitled is to have, give all to all. Only one equal gift can be offered to the equal sons of God, and that is full appreciation. Okay, so only one gift can be offered to the equal sons of God, and that is full appreciation. So that's immediately where the trouble starts, in fact, because it is like full appreciation is like the only response I can have to my brother. So yeah, but I appreciate some, but I don't appreciate all. So I have a conflict here because I don't know how to appreciate someone I really don't like. So how am I supposed to do that? And that's like, I'm not telling you how to do that, but it is given here. It's like, no, this is the only natural response to your brother, is one of full appreciation. So whether I see my brother like this and that, like a limited person with some real bad characteristics, I will have to let these ideas go because they don't align with the teaching, like with the lessons of the Holy Spirit. No, when I hand it over to Spirit, this is the lesson I get back to myself. Like, oh yeah, wait a minute. So after I forgive, just like we read, after I forgive, I let go of my ideas about my brother, I suddenly can see him in a whole different light. And I start to appreciate him like never before. I cannot believe what's happening to me. Like this is truly a miracle that this is happening. Suddenly I feel that full appreciation, even though I didn't really like him a moment ago. So this is the offering. It's like, okay, you hand things over to Spirit. This is what comes back to you. and something that you might find much more attractive too, like to love your brother, to fully appreciate him, to see him for who he is, to see that you naturally communicate with him because he is one with you. And so see, all the things that you don't have to do are coming to mind now. Like, oh, I don't need to judge them. I don't need to have an idea about them. I don't need to limit them in any way. I don't make them special in terms of make a division between, yeah, those are the ones I really don't like. Those are the ones that I'm not even talking to. And here's a couple that I really like. Like, no, all that you don't have to do. See, but this is like the dynamics of you dealing with the Holy Spirit. So the important part for you then is to hand it over to Spirit, to recognize for yourself that you're actually distinguishing between one brother and the other. And also seeing that you make some of them special, or even make an icon out of them, like an idol, or however you want to call that, like one that you tolerate everything from, even though he's not so nice to you at all, or whatever it is. It's like, this is your chance to come to the recognition of that full appreciation is the only response to your brother in an equal sonship as it is. It also is like, you will recognize this. You will recognize this. So this is not being said because it is a must do or something. No, you're free to do whatever you want. But in the end, you will discover that is the only response you can have to your brother, is one of love, abundance, and extension. Okay, so that was the first line. So nothing, oh yeah, here's only one equal gift can be offered to the equal sons of God, and that is of full appreciation, nothing more and nothing less. Why is that in there? Nothing more and nothing less. Okay, so I don't have to make an idol out of him either. So full appreciation, but then to a certain degree, like not making an idol out of him, or not valuing him more than myself. Like, no, we're equal sons of God. Like, they're all equal. I don't have to make a difference, see differences between them in that sense, in their worth and their value. Without a range, order of difficulty is meaningless, and there must be no range in what you offer to each other. The Holy Spirit, which leads to God, translates communication into being, just as he ultimately translates perception into knowledge. Okay, so what are you communicating? We said that in the beginning also. What are you communicating? Are you communicating fear, or are you communicating peace? So you can choose. It does not matter what you offer to the Holy Spirit. He will see everything as a means for communication. Whether you come with all the kind of attack or all the kind of conflict and give that to him, he will use that only as a means of communication. Not that he will be yelling back at you, no, but he will translate it into communication. See, and that's great to hear that. So I'm reading a little bit. You might argue that fear as well as love can be communicated and therefore can be shared. But this is not as real as it sounds. Those who communicate fear are promoting attack. And attack always breaks communication and therefore makes communion impossible. Okay, so that is really important to remember. But the Holy Spirit will definitely translate it into a possibility for communication. He will start to use that as a means for communication. So that is, you hand it over and it can come back to you in a whole different lesson that you didn't expect at all. suddenly you start to feel that you're not going to take anything from your brother, but you actually are going to extend it to him, open yourself up to him instead of, separating yourself off from him. The Holy Spirit communicates only what each one can give to all. Okay, so that's a bit different than the ego. Egos do join together in temporary allegiance, but always for what each one can get separately. So the ego is always looking for a bargain and for getting something. So the Holy Spirit, on the other hand, communicates only what each one can give to all. So what can be given to all? Therefore, his teaching begins with the lesson, and this is our first lesson, to have, give all to all. This is a very preliminary step, and the only one you must take yourself. It is not even necessary that you complete the step yourself, but it is necessary that you turn in that direction. Having willed to go that way, you place yourself in charge of the journey where you and only you must remain. Okay, so to have, give all to all. So here it says, like, you don't have to do that completely. That's not even necessary. That's not even asked from you. No, it is when you discover for yourself that you are attacking your brother, you wait a moment, you come to yourself and you hand it over to spirit to see that another lesson is coming to you. Like, you will have to start to give to your brother in this. So that's what you actually already did with your giving it to spirit. You start to open up for an alternative, and that's why that's important for you, because then once you break your defense as you want, like once you break your defense, you're actually already admitting, like, well, I'm not so certain about my case, but I would love to experience this in a different way. So that's basically all that is asked, because the answer will be given to you. It is not that you have to come up with the answer. So the answers are coming to you, and they are so obvious because basically when you start to attack someone, you're actually attacking yourself. And when you start to defend yourself against someone, you're actually defending yourself against yourself. And you cannot really call that communication in the first place. So here it is, you open yourself up to the Holy Spirit, you allow a change to occur. Suddenly there's an answer coming in a way that is absolutely lovely. Like, it's coming back to the idea of full appreciation. It's like suddenly you fall into the full appreciation for your brother, even though for a moment ago you had some opinions or ideas about him. And so this is the mechanism of it. Is that always so easy? Well, it can take a moment before you become willing to hand it over, to even admit, like, okay, well, this really does not feel good to me. I really would love to have an alternative instead of this. I would love to experience something else, because this attack is just, yeah, a bit lonely. At least it's a bit lonely, it's painful, it's, yeah, something's not right. It's really what I feel. So here's the opportunity to let that be changed. And then you understand completely how this lesson is when you start to feel that, to have, to give all to all, instead of taking something from him. No, you literally give it back to your brother. And then you feel the full appreciation for him and how good that feels, how complete that makes you. It's like, then there's no guilt, then there's no attack, then there's communication, and anything is possible. You feel connected. There's a whole different world, so to speak. There's a whole different experience for yourself. So it's an incredible, beautiful lesson. which you have to practice. So the thing is then you will have to apply this. So giving your conflicts, your confusion, your your defenses, hand them all over to spirit to see that they actually can change. And you don't want to get stuck in them any longer. So you have to have like an impulse, like a real desire to become free of that and to have peace with your brother. So great lesson. Really wonderful. So beautiful. So the second one is to have peace, teach peace, teach peace to learn it. To have peace, teach peace to learn it. Well, it's quite hard to express this in this way. First sentence, there can be no conflict between sanity and insanity because only one is true, and therefore only one is real. I haven't thought like that before. Like, okay, so there can be no conflict between insanity and sanity because only one is real and the other one does not exist. So here I am in my defense and I try to make the best of it. And I feel pretty lonely in that. And I feel a bit stuck and contracted too at the same time. And suddenly I discover, well, that is not really teaching peace at all. It's not teaching peace. So it's like I'm stuck in my defense. I don't know how to get out of this. So here it is, I hand it over again. And then I discover there's no conflict. I discover there's no conflict. So it is also, see, this is the same as what we said in the first lesson. It is in fact, you discover that only one of them is real. The thing that, like when you feel isolated, contracted, and yeah, in a defense mode, you're the only one feeling that. It is just a problem for yourself. That's all. It is not connecting. It's not communicating. It is not doing anything except making you feel miserable. So that's the only gain then. If you are aware of yourself, you have a choice not to do that anymore and to allow something else to occur. And why not even actively starting to teach peace, So not attacking, waiting with your response, or stepping back first in order to let the answer come to you about how to respond. See, and then you come into it, say, teaching mode, but it sounds also like you're doing something. No, stepping back is an activity, absolutely, but more to allow the light to show you, or to take it literally over from you, that you can see like, oh yes, this is what I want. I didn't know how to get out of that. But my willingness to teach this by not doing certain things, by not attacking, by not holding on to my conflict, is really what will help me to have experiences with this. See, and this is something you will recognize too in the two sentences that are coming. But the Holy Spirit teaches you that truth was created by God, and your decision cannot change it. See, here it is. As you begin to realize the quiet power of His voice and its perfect consistency, it must dawn on your minds that you are trying to undo a decision which was made irrevocably for you. As you begin to realize the quiet power of His voice and its perfect consistency. See, this is what you feel when you start to not respond immediately, but first let it come to you, let the situation come to you, and then wait for an answer, for something that you can give in that moment to respond. That's something that literally you are inspired to share. You know, that's totally different. But then you also discover the quiet power of that. It is a quiet power. It's like the still small voice, the voice that speaks to me all through the day, as we just read. Like the voice is speaking to me all through the day. I just have to listen to it. I just have to give it a chance to speak to me. And if I'm willing to listen to that, it is right there. And I can practice that in all situations in which I think I need to make a decision or where I think I am in a conflict. It must dawn on your minds that you are trying to undo a decision which was made irrevocably for you. That is why we've suggested before that there was help in reminding yourself to allow the Holy Spirit to decide for God, for you. So this is really like made easy. It is made too easy for you. It's like made really easy for you. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything completely, you know, and that is no, you turning into the right direction is all that's being asked. The rest of the help will be there. It is just that you allow a change to occur. You allow, in that situation that you find yourself in, you allow a change. And then your willingness is going to be like, emphasized or like supported by spirit. And the answers are given you. You don't have to become better in, say, developing or creating answers now with your spiritual mind or something. No, the answers are going to be given because it's so obvious when there's only creation and only reality. It is so obvious what the answer would be, but not to you when you're confused about who you are and where to listen to. The Holy Spirit perceives the conflict exactly as it is. Therefore, his second lesson is to have peace, teach peace to learn it. To have peace, teach peace to learn it. This is still a preliminary step because having and being are not equated, but it is more advanced than the first step, which is only a thought reversal. Like you just had to change your mind. Yes, I'm suddenly becoming willing to turn around and allow something else to happen to me. I'm going to give this to my brother. I'm going to give it to my brother instead of holding it for myself. You know, that was the first lesson. But now you step it up a little bit. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to actually admit in what I really want. It is not just something like, no, I'm actually admitting to what I really want. I want peace. I want to give peace to my brother. Like I want to share or communicate peace to my brother. It is not that I want to fix a conflict. No, I want to start from the bottom with teaching peace and not anything else. So that makes it different. And it's still just say a preliminary step in the sense that it is your intention to do so. So now it comes back to you as an assignment to start to apply this and do it. You know, so I'm taking this quite literally, how is being shared in the text, but that to make it just very practical and very say it is so say down to earth in that sense. You can apply it in so many situations that you're in. See, and then you see, okay, one was changing our minds, allowing a change to occur. The next one is, I'm actually wanting to share this peace with my brother. I'm actually going to start to demonstrate this. You know, I'm going to live this. I'm going to be that in the situations that I'm in. I'm not even willing to attack my brother anymore because I see it's useless and it holds no reality. It's also what I learned in the 20-minute book. I read this over and over, and now I actually have an opportunity to apply it directly in my situations. See, it's so practical, so practical. So that's so great. See, and the third lesson is just even more delicious. That this is where we actually started the class with listening to the music that was speaking of his kingdom. You know, it was literally, you could hear it coming from the kingdom, like in the sense of brings you into a recognition of your holiness, and that's really great. So your holy, talking about holy, your Holy Spirit does not teach your mind to be critical of other minds, because he does not want you to teach your errors and learn them yourself. So I got to say something about that too, because the lessons of the Holy Spirit, they always have another say side to them too. So there are things that you don't have to do, and I repeat them, just like you don't have to be critical to your brother. It's not about judging him better or having a judgment because you are better than him. No, coming from equality and unity, there's nothing outside of you. So when you are actually being critical to your brother, you're actually being critical about yourself, as if there's something not complete, whole, and perfect about you, about the creation of God. You know, so as if you can determine that, as if you can know that you're not completely whole, and so your brother cannot be that either. So your holiness is taken care of, like you were created perfectly, and but you don't know what that means. You don't know how that looks. You don't recognize yourself as that because you have ideas about your brothers, and that there's something missing, or that nothing is really complete, or that you screw up some relationship, or that you are angry at this person or that person, or like your behavior doesn't seem to parallel this idea of perfection. See, that's why it's difficult for you to accept this about yourself, and to come to the recognition, like, oh, wait a minute, I can actually hand all this over. Like, even that is connected to guilt for you. You can feel guilty about handing it over because you have an idea of perfection, and you think like, well, now I have to admit that I'm not really doing it well. You know, these are just, say, very normal human feelings that you can have regarding coming in touch with the Holy Spirit, thinking that it's for everyone but not for you because you're such a sinner, or you screwed it up so badly this time, and there might not be a, yeah, you might not have a case immediately, like it might not apply to you at this point. So that's why it's so good to stand still and to meet with one another, to see, like, no, that's not the lesson the Holy Spirit teaches. No, no, you just have to be willing to let your idea about yourself go and see that it can be changed. And in you, say, allowing that change to happen to you, is the rest is going to be like completely supported for you. Oh, wait. Let's not skip this sentence here. Let me see. In the mind of the thinker, then, he is judgmental, but only in order to unify it so it can perceive without judgment. Okay, so let's start at the top. The Holy Spirit does not teach your mind to be critical of other minds because he does not want you to teach your errors and learn them yourself. He would hardly be consistent if he allowed you to strengthen what you must learn to avoid. In the mind of the thinker, then, he is judgmental, but only in order to unify it so it can perceive without judgment. This enables the mind to teach without judgment and therefore learn to be without judgment. The undoing is necessary only in your mind so that you cannot project it. So you cannot put it out there, you cannot put that on your brother, so to speak, anymore. God himself has established what you can project with perfect safety. Therefore, the Holy Spirit's third lesson is, be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. Be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. This is a major step toward fundamental change. Yet it is still a lesson in thought reversal because it implies that there is something you must be vigilant against. It has advanced far from the first lesson, which was primarily a reversal, and also from the second, which was essentially the identification of what is more desirable. This step, which follows from the second as the second does from the first, emphasizes the dichotomy between desirable and undesirable. It therefore makes the ultimate choice inevitable. But while the first step seems to increase conflict and the second still entails it to some extent, this one calls for consistent effort against it, against conflict. Be vigilant only for God and his kingdom. So the first lesson was just basically a reversal. And the second, essentially, identification with what is more desirable. So in the third one is really like, okay, here I am, and I offer myself to thee. Here I am. I'm listening. Speak to me, Lord. Here's your servant. That's basically the same message. So that goes a bit further. See, and it's good to see these different steps the Holy Spirit teaches, also to recognize in yourself, like, hey, where do I actually find myself? What is actual in my mind right now? Is it more like, oh, I need to apply this reversal all the time and see that there's a way out of my own conflict and defense? Or am I already like teaching peace? Am I really say committing myself to demonstrating that instead of attack? So I'm not sharing ideas and opinions about others. I'm not trying to say make differences between people, like this one I like more, this one is better, this one is so great, and say come to the end of your say making person special or making relationship special. So and here it is in the third lesson, it's really like, oh, this actually all comes down to this. It all comes down to this idea, be vigilant for God and his kingdom, just that. And vigilant then is like allow, see, that's the counterpart of that is then not doing certain things anymore, which is allowing yourself to be tempted to think otherwise, or allowing yourself to have different goals that have nothing to do with your dedication to God. And then actually lesson 3 makes it much easier for you, because this is basically where you come back to, like, yes, this is my main focus. This is what I do. And this will literally make it all very clear for me that I don't have to decide anything. I know nothing can be taken away from me. And I'm actually being pulled towards it because it is my natural inheritance that I'm actually receiving. So there is nothing lost. Everything that falls away and that I don't need any longer, that I don't need to do any longer, wasn't helpful anyway. So I come to communication with my brother like my yeah, what is given to me is I'm starting to communicate with my brothers. I'm available to be that voice for them. Like I allow them to come to me. I'm not making any difference between them. No, I'm actually starting to see that this is the fulfillment of that relationship, of like recognizing that our source is one, and that, see, actually the only invitation is to give that to give it back to your source, to God, and sharing your love for your brother, but giving that back to God instead of doing anything else with that. So you bring everything back to the place where it came from, and basically, it's like, okay, here's my natural inheritance that I can never lose. It's the love of God coming to me. All the love that I feel, I will bring back to that. I will say, credit it to that. I literally credit it to that. Like, yes, I give that back. See, when you start to do that, even in listening to music or even in having contact with your brother, if you start to do that, that increases the communication at the same time. So it's actually really working well in the sense of you become miracle minded. You start to have different and deeper experiences of connectedness and oneness. This is really where you have been looking for. So all these lessons are just referring to that, what is like available to you on a moment by moment basis by just applying these lessons and by handing things over to spirit, to receive the answers that are true, to receive communication that was already there, to see that actually nothing changed and that you're literally home in heaven and are in perfect communication with your Father. So if that doesn't make you happy, then what does? It's like, well, this is your opportunity. Why not receive it? This is too obvious, right? This is too obvious. And then it's like, oh yeah, but I feel this and I feel that, and I'm not sure. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow because I will start all over tomorrow doing that then. And it's like, well, no, that's not going to happen either. You're not going to do this tomorrow if you don't do it today. So the real invitation is to apply this in this moment by giving everything to everyone in this moment. Extend yourself, teach that peace, and say, extend peace to your brother, appreciate him fully, even though you don't know what that means, but at least you want to, turn in that direction. And your love for your brother is also the recognition of your love for God. It's like it is almost like the movement is then giving it back to God. That is like, yes, absolutely. And that's where it belongs. Thank you so much, God. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for what is given. Thank you for this moment that we can share together in the recognition of our common source. That makes it, yeah, incredible healing power if you want. You can have it all. You can allow this healing to be complete, totally complete in yourself by recognizing this. The only question that remains then is, why not now? Why not now? Join me in that. Join me in that, giving it back to God, so to speak. Join me in, yes, demonstrating, giving all to all, teaching peace, being vigilant for God in the kingdom, not allowing anything, at least for this moment, not allowing anything else to come into your mind that would distract you from your true purpose. Yeah, so that's really great. So thank you for joining me in this, because I can feel that you're doing that, and that you surprise yourself too. And that is lovely, not isn't it? Like to surprise yourself in that. Like, well, what do I got to lose? Why not just give it everything? Why not? What am I holding back? Like, okay, I sit here in my own grudges and I don't want to do that any longer. Why not open it up completely? And turning to the one who can help me out of this and seeing that it really has a response. So thank you so much for doing this here with me. And I'll play another song and enjoy this with you. Giving it literally, not losing the purpose, not losing the focus. No, this is a perfect opportunity to celebrate this actual lesson.